ending this! This is the end.
Alright everyone, JB here. We're back with another Dragon Ball Z film challenge today. Now today, I'm going to be going over some predictions, 47th anniversary. Now, I made a video about this about a month ago, but that video was kind of just, you know, before we got any new characters kind of hinted at it, or just, you know, certain stuff added into the game. We've already got like the countdown. We got this new Frieza as well as our free-to-play unit for this month. So we know Universe Rep is going to be somewhere in there for this anniversary. So with that being said though, if you're new around here, still leaving a like on the video and join the channel. And if you just enjoyed the video, drop a like down below, it's always appreciated. Let me know, you know, drop down, comment down below. Let me know what you guys is, let's say top 3. What's your top 3 characters you would like to see come this anniversary? I would love to hear it. So before we start with everything, like I mentioned, Universe Rep is going to be somewhere in the anniversary. We know that because, you know, free play characters, they always hint towards what's going to be, you know, getting buff and later on in that month. Now, Legends info is on the 23rd of this month, as they mentioned before, and the 24th is going to be when the part 1 and, you know, the banners and everything pretty much starts. So you guys have about 2 weeks from now. I am going to be dropping down a pre-anniversary crystal guide for you guys, so try to grind out as much crystals as you can in these next 2 weeks. Now, when we look at the Universe Rep tab before we talk about the predictions, besides the new Frieza, right, UI is probably the last buff, and he came out in 2023. So it's been about almost 2 years. We're well over the year and a half that we've gotten any, you know, like buffs from this tag in general. So it's been a while, which is why a lot of people, you know, if we didn't get, you know, Universe Rep during the festival, we were probably going to see them in the anniversary, I feel like. So it was one of those things where it's gonna happen eventually, right? Now, MUI is probably, you know, for an Ultra MUI to come, he's probably the most anticipated, the most, you know, character that I would say that a lot of people are counting on coming. Now, I talked about it earlier, a couple videos ago, about part 1 possibly being the Ultra. Now, I do think that it is still possible. Whether or not he comes out part 1 or part 3, MUI has a really good chance, you know, with us possibly getting Universe Rep buffs, whether it's an LF or, you know, an Ultra. But I think he is the most likely character, since not only that a lot of people are thinking about him coming, he's also, you know, pretty popular. So it's very good for them, especially for hype wise as well. For like part 1 wise, right, I still do think Universe Rep is going to be either part 1 or part 3. So either we get an LF and we get an Ultra, or maybe we get both, you know, something for everything, right? So I do like this chance of them coming. We did just get a Golden Frieza, yes, as a free play character, but besides that, Golden Frieza hasn't had a character in a while. Same thing for, you know, 17. Besides his LF MVP 17 from the Universe Rep tag, or just like Universe Survival, he, you know, there isn't much, you know, there isn't much in the game besides that, and there's really a chance I can see them making 17 like he still has that, maybe some buffs where he's being supportive for the team, or some type of, you know, defensive buffs and disrupt, while Frieza on the other hand could be the attacker doing most of the damage. So a little bit of a, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but you guys get what I mean. You know, one doing one another. So I personally love to see these guys in the game. You know, because besides, let's look over here really quick. Like I said, from the, you know, tournament power, we got this 17, we got this Frieza up here, and yeah, not really much. You know, they got 1% Sparkins, they got LFs. Golden Frieza himself, he does have an Ultra, but not from this, you know, this timeline or this saga at least. So I would love to see that, possibly, if they can do something with that. Attack, you know, attack character is going to be somewhere in the anniversary. That is, you can't avoid it. You know, you really can't avoid it, because, you know, attack characters are pretty big. I mentioned this in the other video, I believe. Their chances are still they're right there with everyone else. You know, attack character, like I said, is gonna be in there. I know some of these characters I mentioned are attack characters. I do have some other like standalones I want to mention as well. But a Dardoku in the hit, come on now. That like, bro, last time we got a hit was Ultra Hit. That was his probably his best character. Still is his best character. Dardoku, we got LF Dardoku last year as a standalone unit, but he wasn't as good as he was supposed to be. You know, he kind of got canceled out for a while, and then he got a plat equip, and he kind of got better with that plat. So I would really love to do him some justice. You know, not even just because, you know, it's a tag character and it's Goku or anything like that, but this form is itself, like God, the Super Saiyan God form, it's underappreciated. I'm gonna keep saying it, but it's really, really underappreciated, and I feel like every time that we get a new unit in this form, you know, they don't do it any justice. So I'm hoping they do something about this. I'm thinking these guys, if they were to release them, like I said with these guys, it's gonna be part 1. You know, either one of these guys, I feel like it's gonna be part 1. And the way I can see this character being is gonna be a high, probably like a high attack type of character. Or like a quick strike character, like a quick burst character. Maybe, you know, every time they enter the battlefield, they get like a really good buff to damage inflicted, some card draw speed, you know, some cover null, some of that. I can kind of see that because in the actual series, if you watch the show, that's kind of what they were doing when they were fighting Jiren. It was just like non-stop attacking. So I feel like there'll definitely be something of that form if they were to ever release them and give them like, you know, like a melee type or range type, whichever one. So part 2, I'm thinking part 2 is something from Stardust from the movies. Now hear me out. We recently did just get, you know, Beast Gohan. That's been about, I would say 6 months now, to we're about almost halfway into this year, which is really insane to say, but it was Beast Gohan, and before that it was Turles, and I think it was this Goku right here as well. He's a part of that campaign, and you know, but that was months ago, so like over 6 months ago. So it's been a while. Stardust movies feels like a tad that it gets buff, whether it's a campaign or more importantly around the big celebrations. It's going to be somewhere in there. Now, the reason why I'm making these picks I'm about to show you guys is mainly because of the theme right here. I think the Dragon Balls, you know, that just means Shenron. That means Shenron, and then it also, when you look at the video that they had, it also had like the anniversaries lined up from like 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. So that just means either the anniversaries or Shenron. That's kind of a cool, you know, scheme that I like that they did. But look, the green back here with the sparkling gold, that's really giving me Gogeta. That is 100% giving me a Gogeta. And if you don't believe me or not, a fusion is going to be some part of this anniversary. So it you know, it always is. Whether it's Gogeta or Vegito, Vegito has always been like more of the one that sells more. But Gogeta, this is his time, and this is from the Fusion Reborn, movie. I would love to see that. You know, he could be a standalone Gogeta, or he could be a fusion mechanic Gogeta as a tag character. So either one is doable. You know, we did get technically a, you know, Gogeta with the PyCon revival, but that was a while ago. You know, it's been over a year for that unit when it got released, and they really have to do this unit some justice. You know, you can't fumble this. Fusions, if there isn't anything else really been, you know, super hyped in the anniversary, the fusions are always in a coming clutch. That's how I feel. You know, you see it every year. Whether they release, let's say, a less hyped, maybe a Vegeta unit, you know, there's only certain Vegeta units that I feel like you can put in the anniversary and everyone's gonna love it. There's always gonna be someone complaining about it, but Gogeta, he's got to be in the anniversary. So if it isn't him, it's gonna be Vegito somehow, some way. Probably a fusion Vegito from let's say the Future Saga when they just go through Black and Zamasu. So that's a possibility as well. And then another one that I thought about was Broly, because of the green. The green, you know, he's a Super Saiyan because it has like the little gold, has a little sparkling gold back here. At the end of the day, this is just me making speculations, but I did mention him in my other video as well for the predictions. It's been about that time for a new Broly, specifically a Super Broly, so they can't mix this up, right? Because the last LO Broly that we do have, I believe, if we check right here, I think he got a plat, or it was a Zenkai. It was one of the two, but he's somewhere down here. If we look for him really quick, yeah, right here. Yeah, so this guy is Zenkai, and I think he had got a plat too to go alongside it. Could be wrong about that, but he definitely got a Zenkai. Zenkai was pretty good, I would say. Nothing too crazy, but this guy can definitely use a new character. You see that what happened with the other Broly that we got from the Z Broly movie, I think. He was a bit underwhelming. He was pretty good on release. Didn't last that long. That's the one thing I'm kind of worried for with new units coming out, is how long are they going to be in the meta, right? How good is their longevity? Because once they're not no good, they're not gonna be used for a while by a lot of people, which it kind of sucks. But we know how that goes. Some units they're used longer than others because of their kit. So hopefully we get some form of him. Broly is a hype. He's definitely a hype character, I would say, just like Gogeta. So I would love to see it. Now another those are my part 1 and 2s. Now really quick, these are just like the honorable mentions. So these are one of those like where it's happened before. Legends have released units that weren't as hyped, but yet they're anniversary unit, right? So another one I want to mention really quick, just because she's a fusion warrior as well, and we haven't seen a Kefla in a while. Some form of Kefla, she could be a transforming unit. Don't know if they'll make it where she transforms twice. Maybe she transforms from like her base form into Super Saiyan 2, or they just give us a base, just give us Super Saiyan 2 straight off the bat, or they could also be a fusion mechanic as well. So, there's 2 options they can do with that. It's all up to Legends. So far this year, the releases have been great. They've been awesome. They, some of them have been a little bit where it's like, this unit could be a little bit more, but you gotta appreciate that they're taking into the fact that some units do not need the amount of stuff they have in their kit. So we'll love to see her. Do I think she's hype worthy, enough for an anniversary? No. I'm gonna straight up and say it, no. But I'm mentioning it as an honorable mention because there's always at least one unit that somehow is the one that everyone is looking at like, that should not be an anniversary unit. That should be like a monthly. It always happens every single year. It never fails, but Legends might surprise us this year. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry if you guys hear me slurring on my words. Really early in the morning. Your boy is not a morning person. So when I'm doing these early morning videos, you're gonna hear that. It's a sleepy JB at his finest. So I'm looking into this being some form of a Maj Oob that has like the succession mechanic and goes into full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So let's say, for example, besides this Goku, besides MUI, Master Ultra Instinct, everyone wants some form of a Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Now let's say that we don't get that. This could be the next best thing. He could have a succession mechanic. Now will they be a tag? I don't think they will, because they can make him a tag, but based off the show, he could be a succession mechanic, and then in the actual show, he actually was powering up. Goku was powering up with everyone around him. That's basically what this card art is telling you right here. So that would be something nice, because they introduced that same mechanic with Gohan and Trunks, and till now they're still a really good unit. They could be better on some terms of what they have in their kit, but all around they're still a top 10 unit in the meta, still being used pretty frequently. So I don't see why they wouldn't do something like this. And on the bright side, it'll be another way to give us another Maj Oob. I say it again, Maj Oob, it's a lot of characters that just they don't really show them as much love. Besides Goku, Vegeta, Gohan. These are the typical characters you're going to see being buffed throughout the year. And for Vegeta, to be honest with you, he probably wouldn't even be in the top 3 because it feels like sometimes, you know, throughout the year, he's not getting as much characters or as much love for units wise. So you're going to see a lot of Gokus and Gohans. Those are definitely your top 2s. So yeah, hopefully they do something. You know, I would love to see that. This was just another honorable mention I want to throw out there because, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I feel like with the fact that Goku's in there, Goku's going to be a part of this anniversary regardless. Always is. Same thing with the fusions. Going to be some part of it in the anniversary, whether it's part 1, part 2, part 3, it doesn't matter. There's 3 parts, so there's plenty of characters that they could possibly drop this year. But with that being said though, enough yapping. You know, like I said, your boy's slurring over his words. I do apologize for that. Got me out here sounding like I can't talk, but it's pretty early, so my brain it's still waking up, you know. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. You know, I haven't been uploading as much. I know. So we're just getting some things situated outside of YouTube itself, and it just feels like more and more every time I try to get down and record, I just don't have enough time because there's so much I'm trying to get done outside of YouTube. But around anniversary time, I promise you guys there'll be plenty of content. You know, plenty of content every other day, every day of the week. So once again, I appreciate anyone that's been looking at the videos, who's you know, been recently subscribing to the channel as well. Because I know recently I have not been consistent. That's the key word, consistent. So as always though, everyone have a blessed day. It's your boy JB. I'm out.